Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 328, after, for my money, the single best day in the NBA all season. Those two games last night were absolute theater. And we had talked for the last month or so of the regular season that we could get some absolute classic round two matchups if the brackets held. That we could get OKC potentially in round two against Joker. We're getting it. A Knicks-Celtics matchup, which seemed like we knew we were getting that in round two starting 4 months ago. And then maybe Cavs-Bucks, Cavs-Pacers. And then I thought, of course, we'd be getting Lakers-somebody, but we didn't get that. But that one hasn't started yet. And 3 round two games, 3 road victories, 3 huge underdogs, all 9+ point underdogs winning. And I thought the Knicks-Celtics game was arguably the game of the playoffs, or on the very short list, and then it might not have even been the game of the night. So we will get to all of that. Demonze, welcome in. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Pops.
Return from the Met Gala, which Demonze was in attendance for last night, back in LA, overnight flight. Your mom and I actually went to a Met Gala like pre-dinner that was a really nice, cool event that I was probably not the best date for because I was just watching Knicks Celtics on my phone for the first half and then got out of there in time to be home to watch the close of that game and then the entirety of Nuggets Thunder, which I thought Knicks Cavs could be a game. I'm sorry, Knicks Celtics could be a game. I thought it's weird because I thought Knicks Celtics could be a good game one, but didn't really give the Knicks a chance in the series. Meanwhile, I thought Thunder Nuggets, that the Nuggets had a real shot in the series, but thought game one would be a giveaway game. The Nuggets coming off a 7-game series, the Thunder fully rested, all of that. So it turned out, obviously, that is not how that went. And did game one of Knicks Celtics change my thoughts on the series? We'll get to that in a moment. But first, what missed the cut? Mitch Johnson is replacing Greg Popovich in San Antonio. Evidently, Aaron Rodgers had a wedding band at the Kentucky Derby. I saw that story. I did not click on it. And LeBron misses the Met Gala because he got hurt. Now, listen, I understand.
Unpack that.
In some corners of the internet, LeBron's not allowed to suffer injuries, even injuries we see on camera, injuries we watch happen. It's then all phony and fake. But you're shaking your head.
Do you think that's what it is, Pops? Come on.
What do you mean?
Like you're saying he's not allowed to be injured, but like he went on and he tweeted that he wasn't going to make the Met Gala because he got injured in the playoffs. I think people were just like, big whoop, like you're not making the Met Gala.
Well,
like,
he was
doesn't change my day at all.
This is where it's important to, actually understand things. Sorry, Demonze, I had to do this to you, and not just go with what the internet's saying. He was one of the chairs of the event.
Fair.
So it wasn't just like
is that every year that he's the chair? Oh,
No.
Okay.
It was just this year, so he was supposed to be there. I don't know that he's ever gone to a Met Gala because his team's normally still in the playoffs, and he was so. But
Fair.
Regardless, set that aside. The story is not LeBron and the Met Gala. And by the way, you know how much tickets for that thing cost? Give it a guess. Give it a guess.
Like, is it like how it would be in a stadium? Like closer? I'd say like
it's just
2,500.
$75,000 a seat.
70. All right.
Now it all goes to charity, but it's $75,000 a ticket, and you really can't get single tickets. You can only buy tables. It's quite the event. Reminder to everyone out there, for all your Met Gala and NBA playoff coverage, like, rate, subscribe, review to What's Right with Nick Wright and Demonze. Let's get Demonze to the Knicks against your beloved Celtics.
The Knicks pulled off the upset last night. Yeah, pretty embarrassing. I don't know what was going on. The Celtics were relying on the three. The Knicks were down by as much as 20. They mounted the comeback with Brunson on the bench. You call game one a must win for New York.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about the series? Is there anything I should be worried about being a Celtics fan?
Well, so I'll get into the game in a second. But here's why this series to me is so fascinating and so interesting. The Knicks built an entire team with this 2-week period in mind. They made massive changes, fired all their draft pick bullets, traded away Julius Randle, broke up the Villanova crew before they could ever play a game together. So they trade for Mikal Bridges, but then trade away Dante. And it was with one series in mind. Can we put together our version of Boston? Meaning 5 excellent starters. Can we build a team where for your Jayson Tatum, we have Jalen Brunson. For your Jaylen Brown, we have Karl Anthony Towns. For your Kristaps Porzingis, we have Mikal Bridges. For your Derek White, we have OG Anunoby. For your Drew Holiday, we have Josh Hart. That's the idea. 5 quality, switchable, good starters, who most of which can shoot. 4 of them can defend. And that's what we're going to do. And then all year long, it looked like, okay, cool story, bro, but you can't beat any of the good teams ever. And after getting blasted by the Celtics in their first 3 matchups, the Knicks had the ultimate moral victory loss in their final regular season matchup when they took the Celtics to overtime and at least had a little something to hold on to. Like, well, maybe we can compete with these guys, because once a month into the year when the Cavs raced out to that 1 seed, it was very clear the Celtics were content with the 2, the Knicks were going to be the 3, and that this was going to be our round 2 matchup. And then for 2.5 quarters, it went about as poorly as it could have for the Knicks, despite the fact that Boston couldn't hit a 3. I shouldn't say couldn't hit a 3 because they made 15 of them, which is a fine number. But despite the fact that Boston seemingly only wanted to shoot 3s, of their 97 field goal attempts, 60 were 3s. In the third quarter, seemingly every field goal attempt was a 3. They missed 45 of them, but it's 75-25 with 5:47 left in the third quarter. And then, I was going to tweet it in real time, but I was watching in the car on the way home on my phone, so you can't watch the game and then tweet. The Knicks turned a 20-point deficit into, oh, we're fine, faster than I can ever remember a team doing it. They went from down 20 to down 6 in 5 game minutes. From 5:47 left in the third to 28 seconds left in the third. And now the Celtics they did hit a 3 at the very end of the third quarter to give themselves a little breathing room back up to 9. But in that moment, the Knicks felt like we're fine. We were going to get blown out. We now have made it a game again. And if it's close late, we trust our closer more than we trust your closer. And I know Brunson missed the layup to win the game, but I was shocked he missed it.
Me too.
He's been so good in those spots all year and all postseason that once Tatum took the terrible dribble tie game 3, that I thought, oh, the Knicks are just going to flat win this in regulation. They, of course, don't. And normally, Demonze, if the other team is better than you and it takes a furious comeback and then you have a chance to win the game in regulation and it ends up going to overtime, that is so emotionally deflating that then the better team, water finds its level and the better team wins in overtime. And instead, the Knicks raced out to a 6-point lead in overtime. And
Celtics didn't even do anything in overtime.
no. What, they make 2 baskets?
Yeah.
I think they made 2 baskets in overtime and still had a chance potentially for a game-tying 3. And the Mikal Bridges, who did not have a good game at all offensively, just took the ball from Jalen Brown. And now the Knicks are here saying, we're in the fight, guys. The Knicks, I'm sure this isn't how they're looking at it. But the way I would look at it is, because you stole game 1, now you simply have to win one of the next 3. By winning one of the next 3, you guarantee yourself you are getting a game 6 in the Garden, which will be, if the Knicks win one more game in the next 4, but really in the next 3, that game 6 in the Garden will be the biggest game played in Madison Square Garden this century. It will be the biggest game the Knicks have been involved in their building since the 99 season with Sprewell and Houston and that magical run to the finals as an 8 seed. That's what we're looking at here. And for it not to be a night where, and we can say the Celtics just didn't have it, and I understand the 45 missed threes are an absurd number. An absurd number. I get that. The Timberwolves, in their victory over the Lakers in Game 5, I think tied the record for missed threes with 40 when they went 7 of 47. But
it took all that to go to overtime, win by a couple of points. I think the Celtics will game plan and maybe not rely on the 3 as much when it's not hitting and take some inside shots.
Listen, I get that mindset that it took a historically inefficient shooting night for the Knicks to escape in overtime. I get that. But what you also, though, have, and the reason I called Game 1 a must-win, is for the Knicks, I don't care how confident athletes are and how sure of themselves to get to where they are, they had to be. If a team beats you 5 times in a row and every single time in a season, it's very hard to convince yourself, not only can we beat them, but we're about to beat them 4 of the next 6.
Right.
And that's the position the Knicks would have found themselves in. I thought Tatum settling at the very end of regulation.
And you got Mitchell Robinson guarding you.
Was just a big
100%.
mistake.
Yeah.
And
2 wins the game. It's not like we were down. Like, just get a bucket.
Right. That's the problem there. So I down 2 at the end of, in the waning moments, the math is very, very clear that shooting a 3 is better than basically any option other than a wide open layup, because down 2, a 2 only gets you an extra 5 minutes as opposed to a 3 that can win the game. But obviously, down 1, or in this case, a tie game, drive to the basket, you know what I mean? Put some pressure on the defense.
Maybe they get it with a second left or something, but yeah.
And so I don't think they could, let me double check that. I don't think they could hold for the last shot there. If I'm almost certain of that. because if they could, no.
Oh, yeah, it was like 4 seconds. There
It
was
was like
like
a
5 seconds.
4 second
Yeah, 4 or
differential.
5 left. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't. Listen, if he would have gone early there, that's a
Right.
disaster.
It was dangerous.
He didn't go early, but at least, I mean, a couple seconds early. But the Knicks were going to get another shot, no matter what. And so that part, that part's fine. It's just when you are in that moment, if you're Jayson Tatum, you are, what was he from three? I mean, he's finished 4 for 15. So I don't know what he shot in overtime. But in that moment, it's not like his three
He
had
had the
been
hot
falling.
hand.
And so that to me was a mistake. And, obviously, should be noted, they got nothing from Kristaps because Kristaps left the game with an illness. And so, 13 minutes, 0 points from Kristaps is not, and Luke Cornett having to play 17 minutes, Horford having to play 34 minutes. That's not really on your bingo card. I understand that. And White, Tatum, and Brown combining to go, doing this on the fly, 20 of 61 from the field. None of that's on your bingo card either. However, the Knicks built a team to defend Boston. And it just feels like last night, the only chance we had of getting a series is the Knicks winning that game. And when they're down 20 midway through the third quarter, it feels like, okay, Boston's just head and shoulders better than them. And the Knicks found a way to come back and steal it. I said, now there's a couple other Knicks pieces I want to get to here, which is I am imploring coaches around the basketball world, if you have a player on your team that you want to play, that you want to give minutes to, but the other team is going to do the hack a player strategy, and he's so bad at free throws, you are going to blink and take him out of the game if they do that, then you must adjust your rotation patterns so that player gets a disproportionate amount of his minutes at the very end of quarters and at the beginning of quarters. So the Knicks want to play Mitchell Robinson, and they did play him 21 minutes, and the Celtics, and this is another reason why the numbers can be misleading. The Celtics and Tatum saying, we should play without refs and basically about the physicality, and then the Knicks shot 31 free throws and the Celtics only shot 26. Still, that's
Wait,
plenty
who said
of free throws.
to play without refs? I'm sorry. Did Tatum say that after the game?
Tatum said that. Yeah, Tatum was like, it's so physical, you might as well just
He's
play without
whining
refs.
to the refs up the court to get a call, man.
Correct.
Go
Correct.
Come on, my guy.
Yeah. But what I was saying about the free throw discrepancy is the free throw numbers are misleading because 8 of the Knicks' 31 free throws were Mitch Robinson. You know what I mean? Like that those were fouls you wanted called. But the point I'm making is Tibbs needs to adjust the rotation where Mitch is getting minutes at the start of the second. Or you're probably not going to start the half with him at the start of the fourth. Because nobody goes to hack a player when you're at 0 team fouls. They're not going to just burn 5 team fouls, put you in the bonus, get the guy at the line. Where you get in trouble is when you put him in with 5 minutes left in the quarter, the other team's already at 4 team fouls, and then they can just put him on the line. But Mitch, despite the free throws being brutal, was useful for them. They decided, I implored on the show, see if Miles McBride, Deuce McBride, can give you some minutes. He did. They couldn't guard in those minutes is the problem. And I do wonder if Precious becomes more of a featured player in this game if they feel they can't, or in this series, if they can't play Mitchell Robinson. But you can just play Mitchell Robinson. Like, if his stint is, we're putting him in with 2 minutes left in the first when you can't foul away from the ball, and he is continuing that stint into the first 5 minutes of the second. When you're not in the bonus, you don't have to worry about the hacker strategy, and then do the same thing the third into the fourth. And now all of a sudden you have 14 Mitchell Robinson minutes where the hacker strategy is totally neutered. Like, that to me is something I'd look at if I were Tibbs. And so I am going to try to go to game 3 at the Garden. I looked it up. It is the prices of these games at the Garden are so outrageous. So the same, and I'm not talking courtside, but like fifth row. So really good seats, but not courtside. Those seats for game 1, Timberwolves Warriors. And the Warriors are either the biggest or the second biggest draw in the sport. In Minnesota are like $1,200 a ticket. Those exact seats at MSG for game 3 are right now selling for $11,000 a ticket. They have listed courtside seats for $50,000 a ticket. It's the games at MSG, playoff games, the prices are just it literally is cheaper to fly to Boston,
Yeah, right.
get a hotel, and it's not like Boston, it's not like Celtics don't have great fans. And so, but I want to go to game 3.
Be an experience, man.
And
And
I
an
mean, your
L,
mom and I
too.
went to game 2 of Knicks Pistons. This would be something else. And so, shout out to the Knicks. That was a great win. And can you win one of the next 3 and guarantee yourself you're getting a game 6 at MSG? And then if all of a sudden you're in a game 7, the lesson every few years about a game 7 is some random might have the night of their life. Buddy Hield did it over the weekend. You and I were together, DeMonze, watching Grant Williams do it
Yeah.
to Milwaukee in 2022. Game 7 of the 13 finals, the game after the Ray Allen game. People remember it because LeBron had 37 and 12 and the Heat went back to back. What people forget about that game is Ray Allen and Chris Bosh in that game combined for 0 points. And the reason the Heat were able to stay ahead of the Spurs throughout was because Shane Battier off the bench hit 6 threes. You know what I mean? The random
Danny
role
Green
player.
at one point, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, Danny Green did
Danny
it. Not in the
Green.
game 7, but Danny Green did it in the finals. But the random role player that just catches fire, and it's like, holy shit, this is how my season's going to end. Like, again, the Knicks are drawing incredibly slim, but they would have been drawing dead had they lost last night, and they didn't. You've got a couple follow-ups here, and then we can move on to the other games.
So, I mean, from the way you talk, I could assume that you think the Knicks are the worst version, but you said that the Knicks are the version of a repeated version of the Celtics. Do you think that they're the worst version?
Yeah, well, listen, they're not as good. They're clearly not as good, but they built the team with the Celtics in mind.
Okay.
And it's just like at every step, it's a slightly worse version. You know what I mean? So, like, Brunson is awesome. And listen, maybe we'll feel differently after the series, but Brunson is just a tick beneath Tatum as a player. Karl Anthony Towns, because of his lack of consistency, and, you know, he's a very different player than Jaylen Brown, but he's a level below Jaylen Brown. Now, those other 3 guys, Bridges, Anunoby, Hart, versus Kristaps, White, Drew Holiday, depends on the night. Those guys can kind of be playing each other even, but then when we get to the bench, Horford's a far better backup big than Mitchell Robinson, and Peyton Pritchard is a way better energy off the bench shooter than Deuce McBride. So it's Kevin O'Connor said this to me about, I forgot what we were talking. Oh, yeah. We were saying Joker to Şengün to Sabonis. He said is the Pokemon meme. The Charizard, I don't like where it's like 3 different versions of the same Pokemon, but they just get stronger and stronger. I don't know Pokemon, so I'm butchering that. But that's kind of what the Knicks are to the Celtics. The question is, for 2 weeks, can Jalen Brunson outplay Jayson Tatum? For 2 weeks, can Karl Anthony Towns play Jaylen Brown to a push? Like, can they do it? Probably not, but now they've got they have
life.
more than a puncher's chance.
All right.
Go ahead.
They got a little bit of life.
A little bit of life, and for me, selfishly, I want to say something. I would get intense joy. Because I'll be honest, I don't have a lot left to root for in these playoffs. I have stuff to root against. The take that will age better than any of my takes is when the Warriors win, Steph's in the GOAT conversation, and when they lose, nobody cares. And as evidenced by yesterday morning on ESPN, we're served up, Steph is 3 series victories away from being in the GOAT conversation. Like, okay. Fine, so be it. After the Buddy Hield game, I got it. So I get, like, I guess I'm rooting against that. I historically am not a big Celtics guy, so I guess I'm rooting for the Knicks. Your mom's claims to be a Knicks fan now, all this stuff. But here is what I'm truly rooting for in this postseason, selfishly. All last year, I'll go back 2 years. 2 years ago, at the end of the regular season, Kevin Wildes was just like, the Bucks. Here's the reason why the Bucks are the best team. And this one I didn't totally disagree with him on. They would have gone back to back, but they dealt with injuries. It's so obviously and clearly the Bucks. And then they get popped in round 1. Last year, all year long, Wildes' only consistent take, no one's beating Denver in a 7-game series. Denver is so obviously the team that won the championship last year. They are the champs. They're the best. No one's beating them. And then they blew a Game 7 at home in round 2. All this year, Wildes' take has been his Denver take from last year, except it's about the Celtics. The team that won the championship last year, they're the best. No one can beat them in a 7-game series. If in back-to-back years that team gets clipped in round 2, it will just be so gratifying. And then we're probably going to have to listen to next year, no one's beating Oklahoma City in a 7-game series. But so that really is, at this point, my rooting interest is pain for Wildes, primarily. The Steph conversation not getting really untenably annoying. And I'd like the Knicks to do well because I'd like to be able to go to as many playoff games as possible here. And in the West, going into last night, I would have said in the West I'm rooting for Ant. But in one of the most shocking turn of events in my sports fan life, I am finding it harder and harder not to root for Joker. I know nobody expects that from me because I was a Joker skeptic years back, but I find him to be so likable, and so god dog good
Where you been at,
that,
man?
say it again.
Where you been at, man? This is
Well,
this is crazy.
no, it's just, listen, and we'll get to the Nuggets in a moment. Um, we don't have to relitigate the MVP stuff and where I was on it and how I thought he was being anointed to a place he had not yet earned when other guys had to prove it. Set all that stuff aside. For the last 2 years, I have been firmly in it's very clear Joker's the best player in the world and an all-time great camp. And you can say I was 2 years late to it, fine. But when you say where you've been at, like what propelled it, I think the added responsibility he's taken on with that team post Malone being fired is so special, of him running these huddles, of him, being, basically a player coach along with Dave Adelman, and then seeing what they've been able to do it is, and this is as high of praise as I can give. That game
Ron-worthy
yesterday,
stuff.
it's LeBron-esque.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we don't have a perfect team. We don't have, we fired our coach mid-season, and I have to take even a bigger responsibility.
And then
but don't worry
especially
about it.
with Jokic's like his character type and his personality, I think it's even bigger that he's doing what he's doing right now.
Yes.
Because LeBron is obviously different from Jokic, and I feel like is more comfortable taking that role.
Correct. And it feels like Joker would almost rather not, but it's like, okay, if this is what we need to do. And before we get to that game, one piece, if you were watching the very end of that game, that I found incredibly endearing and I really liked, and it might have been a big reason they won the game. They put Joker in to guard the inbounds on the possession where Chet missed the free throws, okay? And it was an interesting decision because he had 5 fouls. So he obviously couldn't, once the ball gets inbounded, he has to stay away, but they're racing against the clock. Joker initially starts guarding the inbound and then immediately turns his back, but then also like flails about.
Yeah.
Which was strategically and basketball-wise very smart. I think it just made it a little bit harder to get the ball inbounded where the Thunder wanted to, and it ended up going to Chet instead of SGA, which ended up being a massive, massive event in that game. I think a lot of NBA super-duper stars wouldn't have done that because they look so goofy.
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds silly, but I really believe that. And I put that in the same bucket of Joker being the opposite of the field goal percentage savings club. He takes every single end of quarter heave. He'll even like volleyball slap it. Like, it is really the pure dedication to like what can help my team in this moment, I find really endearing. And so, I don't know.
Wow.
Who knows? Maybe I'm a Nuggets guy. NBA 82 game grind is done. Now the real fun begins. NBA playoffs are here. Time for all the high stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. Can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30, 40, or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Lock in your bets, and let's make this playoff run unforgettable. Here's something special for first timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code Wright. That's code Wright. WRIGHT. New customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, Demonte, we talked about it a bit there, but we didn't really get into the nitty-gritty of it. Let's do Thunder Nuggets now.
Speaking of improbable second round wins, man, Denver coming off a Game 7 series with the Clippers, go in and battle the rested. What are they coming off, like a week plus of rest? OKC, the 1 seed. Jokic drops 42 points. He had 22 rebounds. Gordon hit the game-winning 3 after OKC's late foul backfired. How do you feel about that game?
Yeah, so everyone's going to talk about the fouling up 3. And there's also going to be some real criticism about the final foul by the Thunder because Joker wasn't in the game. And it's like, and Denver didn't have timeouts, so he wasn't going to be able to get in the game. I disagree with that criticism the way it's being phrased. They were going to be able to get Joker back in the game. Because what the Nuggets were going to do in that spot was, if you don't foul, race down the court, try to get a quick 2, and then foul themselves. And when you foul yourself, then Joker can come back in. Where I thought, and the broadcast pointed it out as well, where I thought the Thunder screwed up was the instantaneous fouling and not letting any time go off the clock, I thought was a strategic error. Like, you in the first time they're doing it, the Nuggets are inbounding with 13.2. They foul at 12.2. So within a second, they foul. The next time they do it, the Nuggets are inbounding at 11.0. They foul at 10.1. So when you do that, and it's a 3-point game, what you are flatly saying is, we're not going to miss a single free throw. We, in Oklahoma City, are fully confident we are not missing one free throw. And the problem with that is, you missed 2. And I want to get to Joker in a second, but my bigger takeaway from a lot of moments of that game, and it's not just that game, to be totally clear. It's a lot of what we've seen up to this point in what has been, if we're being honest, a slightly underwhelming, not bad, but underwhelming first few years for Chet is, I was exactly right. Which is a player that physically weak is going to have some issues. And at the very end of that game, there were a lot of moments where a stronger player could have made a more impactful play. There was an attempted putback he had where he got bumped, missed the putback, and then lost the ball in the waning moments. There was the Aaron Gordon offensive rebound after the Russ miss. Now, Gordon ended up missing the putback himself, but where he got bumped around. And so that is going to be, and he's not going to get, and this was the point I made about Chet coming out of school, that either of the two explanations for why he was that thin, neither one of them should have made you optimistic about his ability to put on weight. Explanation one was the one we were given. He works out like a madman, eats like crazy, hits the weights, just can't put on the weight. Okay, then his body's just not built for it to put on weight. The other explanation is the guy doesn't care, like he didn't care, like he didn't try. Well, that's not great either because it was the only like glaring weakness for him as a college star. And I think that you saw it in the waning moments last night, and then it got compounded by him missing 2 free throws and then getting lost in transition defense. And that was a transition spot where, man, credit where credit is due. Demonze, you know who made the right basketball play?
Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook.
My God, man.
The whole world thought, and I'm sure you did too.
No.
Russ is just going to just haphazardly crash towards the basket in this transition opportunity and probably miss this layup with more velocity than any missed layup we've ever seen. And instead, he calmed himself, found Aaron Gordon, and another credit where credit's due, Aaron Gordon, who again, he's not a young player. I mean, he's 29, but like he's a veteran.
Right.
Aaron Gordon, last year, 29% from 3, 65% from the line. Aaron Gordon this year, 44% from 3, 81% from the line. He confidently, I mean, for a player, just real quick, going into this year was a career 32% three-point shooter, 68% free throw shooter. To in year 11, up his three-point percentage on way higher volume than he was shooting last year, almost double the threes. Up his three-point percentage, 12.5 points, and up his free throw percentage, 12.5 points, is really impressive. And he deserves massive credit for it. And he hit the biggest shot of the Nuggets season. Well, no. The biggest shot of the Nuggets season was his dunk in Game 4. But he now has 2 playoff game winners, essentially. And it is... So that is, to me, just
if Russ is playing good basketball, watch out, man. Denver's scary. I feel like Russ is the X factor. Michael Porter Jr. also scored 2 points last night. And they still
well, that's the thing. Russ had to play well,
right?
Because Porter didn't have it. And the other guy, credit to him, Peyton Watson. Now, Peyton Watson's numbers are grisly. He's played 15 minutes in a game his team won. They were minus 22 in those 15 minutes, which means in the 33 minutes he wasn't on the court, they were plus 24. So I'm not acting like Peyton Watson had this remarkable game. But when he was on the court down the stretch, he adds some length and some athleticism that team at times feels like it's missing when you have a Jamal Murray, Christian Brown backcourt, and you're just wondering, who those guys can guard. And so that sequence at the end puts, for a Thunder team that really has had no pressure on them at any moment all season, Demonze, they now face what I think is fair to call it, an absolute unequivocal must-win in Game 2.
Yeah.
They can't go down 2-0 at home. They just can't. And so, and by the way, right now, this moment, if I had to pick a champion, I would pick Oklahoma City. I thought, and again, maybe I was dead wrong, I thought the Lakers presented unique problems for Oklahoma City, but I
Just talking Western Conference or like totality or the
No,
NBA
well,
Finals.
I thought the Thunder weren't going to get to the finals because I thought the Lakers presented unique problems for them. The Lakers, couldn't get out of their own way in round one. I think Oklahoma City presents unique problems for Boston. And again, we don't know who's going to be there in these. So I'm not at all writing off Oklahoma City. What I am saying is that they have to win game two. And now I want to talk about Nikola Jokic because that was an all-time performance, man. And the sequence that will be lost to the history of the crazy finish was, because keep in mind, they're down 9 with 2.5 minutes left. Like they had made it a game, but it was still the Thunder were in firm control. They're down 9 with 2.5 minutes left. Joker draws a foul. After being oddly shaky at the line this postseason, makes both free throws. Okay? Next time down, Hartenstein miss. Russ gets to the line, goes 1 of 2. Now it's 6-point game. 2 minutes left. Chet misses a 3. Joker takes his time, gets in for a little 5-footer. Now it's a 4-point game. Shai misses a 19-footer. This is where Chet, I think, had the offensive rebound, lost it, got bumped. Gordon gets it, Nuggets timeout. And that next possession, Joker has Hartenstein up at the top of the key. Hartenstein's doing this whole crazy thing with his hands, putting one hand right. Yeah, Demonze doing it too. But it wasn't just one hand, Demonze. He was like alternating them, doing like I'm not gonna foul, but I'm gonna try to distract you. And Joker very calmly surveys the situation. In that moment, Joker's 1 for 5 from 3 and just nails a 3. And now all of a sudden, it's a 1-point game. Next time down, the Nuggets get another stop. They get Joker finds Russ for an open 3, miss. Gordon gets the rebound, kind of forces it. And then it's like, oh, did they miss their opportunity? And then all the free throw shenanigans happen. And that we talked about already. But Nikola Jokic, the 7 turnovers not great. You can deal with it when he has 42, 22, and 6 on better than 50% efficiency, 10 of 13 from the free throw line, and was doing it, a lot of it, sitting on 5 fouls. Knowing, and I was nervous for him because it seemed like the Thunder weren't too worried about Caruso or guys that size getting matched up on Jokic in the post. And I thought that might be because one of these guys, when Joker does the turn, yeah, right. Exactly right. That they're going to flail back and he's going to get a cheap 6th foul. But he was very sharp to avoid it. And the Nuggets just, in this 3-point era, they're just total refusal to commit to shooting threes. Maybe it'll be the death of them. But, I mean, they made 10 last night, which is fine for them. They only shot 32. There has been this ongoing theory, so to speak, in NBA Twitter, and I kind of like the theory, that because of the apron restrictions and the new CBA and the depth of talent in the league, that we have moved past an era of, like, who's the best player in the series, who's got the best duo in the series, and instead it's more about, what they called it is the weak link era. That it's more about, is my worst player that I play better than your worst player? Do you have someone I can exploit and I don't have someone you can exploit? And the Thunder and the Celtics and the Cavs and the Knicks are all kind of, they have built their team with that in mind. No weak links. You know, like, we're going to have 5 quality players on the court for crunch time at all times. The Nuggets, it's more about, yeah, but we got that fucking dude, and you don't. And I know Shai's going to win MVP, but Joker last night, and Shai, by the way, was really good last night. Jalen Williams wasn't great. Chet was bad. Shai was excellent, and Caruso was excellent.
Excellent. Yeah, I like Caruso. Do you think that Jokic is trying to prove a point here against SGA, with the whole MVP thing?
I don't know that he was trying to prove a point, but DeMonze, you should go back after the show or sometime today. You should just type into YouTube Akeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, MVP playoffs. So,
Okay.
1995 is the playoffs. Is it 94 or 95? I think it's 95. Akeem is the defending champ, the defending MVP, and I want to make sure I get this exactly right, but I'm sure I have it right. And it's him and David Robinson basically for MVP. And I wonder what the voting was. I'm going to look it up real quick because it ends up going to David Robinson. And Akeem was another guy, an international player. Maybe people didn't totally get his personality at all times, but insanely competitive. So Akeem that year, by the way, that's the part I had wrong. I knew I had some of it wrong. Akeem came in 5th in MVP voting because that year the Rockets, as the defending champs, were not very good in the regular season, and then added Clyde Drexler and turned it on in the postseason. But that MVP voting went David Robinson 1, Shaq 2, Karl Malone 3, Ewing 4, Akeem 5. By the way, what a different league was, man.
Yeah.
4 of the top 5 are centers, with the other one being Karl Malone. So the NBA used to, I don't know if they used to always give out the MVP award on the court before a playoff game. And they were able to do it because the MVP was always on like the 1 or the 2 seed, and you knew they would be alive late in the playoffs. And Akeem watched David Robinson before game 2 of this series get the MVP award. And Akeem put him in an all-time torture chamber. And the highlights of Akeem doing his dream shake and his footwork, and it all culminated, DeMonze, in just a vintage Akeem game of 41, 16, 4, 3, and 2.
Almost identical stats to Jokic yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, for real. And also in that game, I mean, David Robinson was fine, but everyone remembers it for David Robinson was more than fine. He had 32 and 12. Remembers it for what Akeem did to him. And it was...
I mean, that makes it very juicy, given the MVP award right then and there. It's like, all right.
Yeah, I'm watching it. And the only part of that story I might have wrong is, did they give Robinson the MVP before game 1? I'm now starting to think maybe they did, because the way I remember it, Akeem was awesome and Robinson really struggled. Game 1 of that series, Robinson was 5 of 17 from the field. And Akeem had 27, 8, 6, and 5 blocks. But regardless, point is, Akeem watched David Robinson win an MVP that he thought should have been his, and then beat him to go to the NBA Finals and to in that series to beat him, he averaged 35, 13, 5, and 4 blocks. Just you might have the trophy. I'm the best damn player alive. And that was the year Jordan came back at the end. Whatever, we're spending too much time on the 95 Western Conference Finals.
You're
Point is this.
man.
I mean, and you should watch the highlights.
No, I'm going to tune in.
He seems to be toying with Robinson. It's really, and Akeem's blocks in that series by game, 5-2, 5-3, 5-5. Again, I go to the What's Right YouTube page, like, rate, subscribe, review for the full video on Akeem Olajuwon.
Was it Stern at that time?
As of late, one of the most underrated players in NBA history. He then went on to the finals and swept Shaq. And thoroughly outplayed Shaq. Young, athletic Shaq. He scored 30 plus in every single game of that series. And in those finals, averaged 33, 12, and 6 with two steals and 2 blocks a game to win his back-to-back championships. And people have the audacity to say that Jordan would have won 8 straight. Man, not with Akeem Olajuwon sitting across from the other conference. But set that aside. Say it again?
I mean, all of that turned into...
Well, because it's so... One of the reasons Akeem is so disrespected is people act like those rings didn't count. Because for the first year, Jordan was playing baseball, and for the second year, he came in midway through the season.
Right.
And I'm just here to tell you those rings counted. But regardless, the reason I'm saying all this is, I gotta think they announced Shai as MVP before Game 2. I think that's what's gonna happen. And if it's not before Game 2, it'll be before Game 5. Either way, I gotta think we're getting
a game
30 years later, potentially the same type of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it. All right, let's go to some of the Game 7 stuff that we weren't able to get to.
So yeah, you went off on your show yesterday. You called James Harden the biggest choker in modern sports history. Is that what you called him? Yeah. So
yeah.
Do you think that's fair? Or is
who else is in the argument? I just need someone to tell me who the other contenders are. And here's the deal. I'm going to pull up these numbers real quick. So Harden, LeBron, Steph, Durant. Those are the 4 guys of the era. And as far as just having...
They threw Chris Paul in there.
Okay, sure. Yeah, maybe I should have included Chris Paul, but I didn't. But that's a fair one. But I just want to give you these numbers. Career playoff games, DeMonze. Less than 4 made baskets. Durant has 2. Steph has 3. LeBron has 5. Give me a guess for Harden. Just give a number.
Harden, all right, so you said those guys' numbers all go 9?
35.
Yeah. And those guys have all obviously played a lot more than him.
Well, Harden's played a bunch. LeBron's played a lot more. But Harden was okay, hold on. That was so again, 35 career playoff games with less than 4 made baskets.
How many of those were on OKC?
A decent amount, but again, the only one you can really throw out is you want to throw out 10 of those games because it was young James Harden.
Right.
But he was, 6th man of the year and going 2 for 10 in the finals. All right. Hold on. I got a couple more for you. Career playoff games with under 5 made baskets. Again, I'll give you the numbers for everyone else. KD 4, Steph 8, LeBron 9, James Harden
50.
55.
Okay, yeah.
And then last one, career playoff games where you have at least as many turnovers or more turnovers than made shots. Durant 7, Steph 13, LeBron 17, James
Wait,
Harden.
more turnovers than made shots? That's what.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Durant
surprises me from other
7,
guys. Go ahead.
Steph 13, LeBron 17, James Harden 42. 42
Yeah,
more
that's
turnovers than made shots.
the
Now,
biggest one right there.
or as many turnovers as made shots, as many or more. So here's the thing. So even if you want to be like, well, those first two stats were about, wasn't playing as many minutes, he's off the bench. That clears that up. And it's just, DeMonte, I used to be the biggest Harden defender. He had such a horrific Game 6 against San Antonio in 2017 when Kawhi and Tony Parker were out and the Rockets lost by 39 points that I said I thought he had an undiagnosed concussion. It's just, and so there is no comp for it. And so if people want to, we don't have to, it's just at this point who he is. The moment gets too big
Seemed
for
like
him,
it was turning around there for a second.
he always has these moments, and then it's a Game 6 or a Game 7, and he takes 7 shots. He takes 8 shots. He has, I think, 6 playoff games where he was 2 for 10, 2 for 11, or 2 for 12 from the field. Ask this follow-up about Russ, and then we'll get to the Warriors.
So who do you think will end up having a better legacy when it's all said and done between Russ and Harden?
So I think this is really, it depends on what you value. So Harden's a better all-time player. And like he's going to have better numbers on better teams, more of a part of winning. They both won one MVP. But Russ is going to be an icon. And Harden is going to be a placeholder for choking. Like,
That's
people
who they'll
are going
compare you to, like if you're a choke artist in the future.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And so the answer is Russ. Like, the answer is definitely Russ. All right, we went longer than I was supposed to go here, so we got to hurry up through the end here. So let's do some Warriors T-Wolves.
Warriors and T-Wolves are facing off. They start today. They're both. I think they start today, and they're both coming off of round 1 upsets. You in the past have picked against the Warriors. Do you plan on doing it here?
Yes. And in fact, thanks to my friends at DraftKings, and I thought I gave out a great winner on Twitter for the Game 7. I had under for Harden, Nuggets to win. This is for Clippers Nuggets Game 7. I had under for Harden, Nuggets to win, and then a Joker triple-double. But the Nuggets blew him out so much, Joker didn't have to play all those minutes and ended on 8 assists. But I've got a series bet I like a lot, which is Minnesota to win Game 1 and the series. That's almost even money, minus 115. Of course, lines and odds subject to change, and we're out here moving lines. So, that could change quickly. But I think the Warriors, I understand this is not how some of the other series have played out, where we just saw it with the Nuggets having all this energy. But I think the Warriors are going to be a little out of gas after that 7-game rock fight with Houston. And I think Minnesota is going to come out rested and fresh after their series ended almost a full week ago against the Lakers. So I love Minnesota tonight, and I love Minnesota in the series. I just think I thought Houston presented real problems for Golden State, and we saw it. And that series, listen, credit to Steph was brilliant in Game 1 and Game 3, and then was awesome in the second half of Game 7. And all of that, plus Buddy Hield, plus the fact that Jalen Green is not a serious person,
Not a
And
serious person's
Şengün,
crazy.
okay, well, I'm sorry. Well, first of all, I'm not sorry. I don't think he's a serious person, and he's not a reliable basketball player. And Şengün got shook by Draymond, legit shook by Draymond. And you had the Buddy Hield game, and the Warriors win the series. Flip side to all that is all of that could have happened, and if Şengün could have made that 12-footer in Game 4, maybe it's Rockets in 6. I thought the Warriors' loss in Game 6 in their building, letting go of the rope the way they did, was wildly concerning. And I think Minnesota can present a lot of the same size, strength, length problems for the Warriors that the Rockets did, except they also have guys that can make baskets. And Ant is not going to do what Şengün or Jalen Green did as far as getting shook. Here's the other element of it. Obviously, Draymond and Rudy have a history. Draymond also is already flirting with a potential suspension. Draymond got very lucky. The refs gave him a technical and not a flagrant for hitting Fred VanVleet in the face. I thought they did that because technically it was after the whistle, but then last night, Joker got a flagrant for the exact same thing. He got fouled and then flailed and hit someone. I forget who in the head. But Draymond is sitting at 4 technicals, or 3 technicals? 4 technicals, I think. 3 more and you get suspended. And he is sitting at 2 flagrant foul points. He hit Lou Dort. That's who it was. He's sitting at 2 flagrant foul points. 4 you get suspended. So if he gets 1 flagrant 2 in this series, he will be thrown out of that game and suspended for the next. If he gets 2 flagrant 1s, he will be suspended for the next game. Which is to say this: if I'm wrong and the Warriors advance, Draymond is a lock to be suspended for a playoff game again. There is no chance he can make it through the next month committing only 1 flagrant foul and getting 2 technicals. There's no chance. So he's already, started that clock. I also just feel like we are very likely to see something very similar, DeMonze, to what we saw from the Warriors in 2023. In 2023, they got a bigger fight than they expected from
The Kings.
And they needed a heroic Steph Curry Game 7, the 50 points, to get to the Lakers. And then in that Lakers series, they were pretty out of gas. And Steph in the series was fine. He was 27, 5, and 7 on 44, 34 splits. But they lost game 1. They then went down 3-1 and then let go of the rope in game 6. And I just think Minnesota we saw really, whatever Steven Adams problems he caused, Gobert's going to cause more. And Gobert's feeling better than he's ever felt in his basketball life after that Game 5. And he's going to get an opportunity to get revenge on Draymond for trying to choke him out. Ant's going to be able to say, I've beaten everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Credit to the Warriors. I was wrong about them in that first series. I picked Rockets in 7. It was Warriors in 7.
Like, now they get got. It's this round.
This is the round.
This round.
You think I'm wrong?
No, I agree with you, but I just think that's funny. It's like, yeah, the Rockets are gonna get him. It's like, all right, now the Timberwolves are gonna get him.
Listen, and guess what? If I'm wrong, I'll probably pick against him in the next round too. I'm just letting you guys know. I don't think the Warriors are that good. I don't. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I don't think the Warriors are that good. That's a great spot to finish the show. Like, rate, subscribe, review. If you put questions in the chat, listen to either the bonus show we might do tomorrow or Thursday's scheduled show. We'll get to your questions there. That we went too long. I have to get to work. Appreciate Blue Duck. Appreciate the volume. Appreciate DraftKings. See you guys on with Colin in about an hour. See you on First Things First. Brew back from jury duty at 3 o'clock. What's right?